Welcome back to the Wave Room, where we listen, speak, and create our own waves. Today's we have an iconic guest. He's a healthcare entrepreneur that's founded companies that have cared for and saved millions of lives. He's the executive and founder of Homefront Health, Mr. James Sweeney. Thank you for joining the Wave Room podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing just great. Thank you. How are you doing, Lee?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. So I personally view you as a mentor, a friend, and the Tom Brady of healthcare. But can you speak on a little bit how we met? I think we should build that little dialogue, and then just so people are probably like, these guys are probably random, but no, I think yeah, building that dialogue.
Sure, be happy to. So I had a good pleasure of meeting you and your girlfriend or fiance. I'm not sure which.
Ex now, she's ex.
Oh, ex. Okay.
It's okay. Beautiful girl though. Still beautiful soul.
She's a lovely person.
Smart, yes.
We were in the same restaurant waiting to be seated, and it turns out that Louis was waiting and wasn't sure if he was going to get a table or not. So I said, "Hey, just join us." And so we had a lovely evening together.
Yes, we did. And it was kind of all random sequence of events, but I still remember the word that you left me with, serendipity. And I will never forget that, that day. I was out there spending my birthday weekend in San Antonio. So it was definitely, I don't think it was on accident that we met, but I'm appreciative of the encounter. So yeah, it was a lovely evening, like Mr. Sweeney said. And it wasn't even supposed to go down like that. I know he kind of gave you guys a brief version, but my birthday, we didn't have reservations. We walked in, and on the website it said you didn't need reservations. So I'm like, okay, cool. We'll go to Six Flags right after that, get a birthday steak, lobster, and we were probably on our last, like, we're budgeting a little bit, so we're like, okay, this is gonna be our last good meal. And so when we walked in, I was like, hey, can I sit down? Can we get a table too? And we pretty much didn't get turned away, but there was supposed to be there was no tables at all, and ended up we only could sit at the bar. And so yeah, the girl I was with at the time, she was like, oh, let's go somewhere special. I want to make it special. But for me, I was like, you know what? No, like, we're gonna make the most of this. And then yeah, that's when I met Mr. Sweeney. He was kind enough to um yeah, I guess share a table. But he actually came over to the bar, and I was like, hey, welcome to the no reservations table. And that's kind of how we started talking. And after that, the rest was history. And yeah, I'm very appreciative of that moment. And I was gonna say, what made you kind of, I guess, invite me to your table? What was that?
It's you, man. You radiate. You have a certain radiation about you, and I was pulled by the magnetism of you.
Wow, I appreciate that. Hey,
By the
likewise.
way, don't call me Mr. Sweeney. Call me Jim.
Okay, yes, Jim. I just feel like when everybody starts to Google you and things, they're gonna, okay. But Jim, we got that. So Jim, yeah, I would just say, yeah, law of attraction. I'm always, the energy I put out, I always believe I get back in. So thank you for that little dialogue. So we'll kind of dive in. Can you kind of tell people, I guess, about the successful health companies that you've founded and helped, put together, so they can kind of know the magnitude of your legacy?
Sure. So I guess it's you're inviting a kind of a long answer, so I'll give you a long answer.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
I've been very fortunate. I've had the good fortune of starting 14 healthcare companies now, and I've been very blessed in that I haven't had one fail. And I know I talked to you about this, Louis, in terms of the reason that I haven't had a company fail is that I'm highly insecure about what I don't know. And so what I don't know keeps me awake every night. I usually wake up around 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm thinking about, what am I missing? What am I missing? What am I missing? And that kind of, it's funny because people think of insecurity as a negative. I actually view it as a positive. Because if you're insecure, that means there's something you don't know that you need to know, and you're insecure about not knowing it. And if you're wise, then you will go about finding out how to figure out what it is that you're missing. And so I've never started a company that didn't have 2 or 3 near-death experiences. But my ability to navigate those waters was always kind of like waking up thinking, okay, what am I missing? What am I missing? What am I missing? And that, to me, has been a very big part of it. Another thing I think I may have mentioned to you is that there was this famous admiral, I think his name was Cabrillo, and he landed on the Pacific coast, I think 1600s. And he told his men to burn the ships. And the reason he told them to burn the ships was there's only one way to go, and that's forward. And there was no going back. And that's so true in many things in life that I have found that you have to burn your ships and burn your bridges, and the only way to go is forward. And that leads to a certain, what I call indefatigability, or unwillingness to quit, that is so critical when you're trying to be an entrepreneur and start companies. I've been very fortunate because all of the companies that I founded have been in healthcare. And a little bit of history on that. I'm a contrarian by nature. And by that, I mean that I don't try to figure out how to do something. I try to figure out why can't I do it differently? And that's typically called a contrarian. And so my contrarian nature in business has been asking questions about, I know the way it's being done now, but why can't I do it differently? And so of those 14 companies, each one of them was an idea that I had of something that hadn't been done previously. And as Louis pointed out, I've been very blessed in that there's been literally millions of people whose lives have either been extended or saved because I created a technology that enabled them to live longer or live better or not die sooner. So from that point of view, I've been very blessed to be in healthcare and to have that as a mission.
And I thank you for, describing that and kind of, going into depth. And I would say, guys, he's being humble at where he's at. I don't like to label people as, as they're wherever they're at professionally or financially, but he's very humble. And so I was going to say, I personally believe in order to know where you're going, you can never, forget where you come from. So I was going to say, now that we have better insight where you are at, currently in life, where and how did this begin? How did this journey begin? Where are you from? Where, Mr. Jim, who is Jim? How did this become?
So I was born in Iowa, but my family moved to San Diego when I was relatively young. So I went to junior high school and college in San Diego.
Okay.
And when I was in the 10th grade, I got a job at a hospital that was across the freeway from where my high school was located. So I went to work full time when I was 15 years old, actually. I was in school full time, and then I was in high school as well. So I worked 40 hours a week, and I was in high school. And I decided, I was very fortunate because I decided very early on that I wanted to work in healthcare. And later on, when I was in college, I found this was a big asset to know what it was you wanted to do, because I had friends and I did well in school, and so did my friends. And they would go to the placement office, and one day they'd interview a bank, and the next day an oil company, and and they had no idea where they were going to work. And I knew from the age of 15 or 16, actually, I decided I wanted to start a company in healthcare. And so that gave me a big leg up in terms of knowing the direction I was going, knowing what it was I wanted to do. I was then drafted at the time when they had to draft into the Army. And I extended my draft to an enlistment so that I could become a corpsman and become a combat medic. So I did that. And then when I get out of the service, I basically said, look, I'm really enjoying this. I want to continue doing it. And they said, great, you can go back to school and you can learn everything you already know, and then you can be a medic. And I said, I don't think so. So instead, I got a degree in business, and then I went on this search for ideas to come up with ways of starting companies. And I started my first company when I was 36 years old. And I'll tell you somewhat of a personal statement, but it's worth telling you because of where it leads you, which is shortly thereafter, I woke up and I realized that I don't have to work anymore. I don't ever have to work again.
Mm.
And guess what? I haven't worked one day since then.
Wow.
So when you no longer have to work to make a living and you're working because you choose to work, it becomes a hobby. So I haven't worked a day since I was 36 years old. I haven't worked one day because I love what I'm doing. And in my various companies, I've been fortunate in having thousands of coworkers. And I tell the coworkers, I said, look, my job is to make you more excited on Monday morning than you are on Friday night. Now, that's a big, tall order.
Yeah, it is. That is for a lot of people too.
But I pity people that don't have a passion about their work. You should have a passion about what it is you're doing, whether you're a bricklayer or a CEO or whatever else it is. You should have a passion. You should enjoy what it is that you're doing, because it makes me sad to think that people live for their weekends and they go through the whole week and all they can think about is whether they're going to go on their boat on the weekend or whatever else they're doing, but they don't really enjoy their life during the week. And I think your life is something you should enjoy every day in every way. And so I've been very fortunate and been very much focused on doing just that.
It's interesting, and that was one of the questions I was gonna ask, like, why are you still working? But it makes sense now because it's a hobby, you're out here doing what you love. So that does make sense. And you're spreading, that, the philosophy you have with your coworkers. So it gives me a better idea why, all your companies have been successful. It starts with with you, because the way you look at life and,
Well,
view how people should look.
A funny story that I heard since I saw you, Louis, was Clint Eastwood is now, I believe, 91 years old, and he's still making movies. And so he was interviewed the other day, and some guy said, so Mr. Eastwood, how does it feel to be 91 years old and you're still making movies? And Clint said, well, I'll tell you what, I get up every morning and I don't let the old man in.
So you stay young. So in your mind, I mean, you look in your 40s, 50s, okay? So you keep a young spirited, right? You keep yourself young spirited, young energy. Is that what you're saying?
That's part of it. I think the other
Okay.
part of it is I'm very much against retirement.
Okay.
I think when people retire, they become a couch potato and they get fat and they don't live very long. And they lose their will to live. They're not excited about things. This is not everyone, of course, but
Right.
a lot of people. And so there's another guy named Warren Buffett, who's one of the top, most richest people in the world. He had an annual shareholders meeting recently and was asked the same question, which is, guy raised his hand and said, Mr. Buffett, have you considered retirement? And Warren said, actually, I have, and I've decided that I am going to retire. 10 years dead. So the point is, thank you for your compliments, Louis, but so I'm going to be 80 this year. And people, when they look at me, you look like you're around 60. Well, I think the difference is you get up every morning, you have something to look forward to, and you have a purpose in your day and you have a purpose in your life. And in my case, wanting to do good things for more people. And so I think having something to look forward to. I don't like older people my age for a couple of reasons. They do two things. They talk about what they did 30 years ago, or they talk about their health nonstop. It's one or the other, or both. But I'm looking forward. I've had a lot of business success. I've had a lot of success in affecting a lot of people's lives, but I'm not looking back. I think the biggest thing is ahead of me, not behind me. I always want to think that the future is bright and that I've got opportunity and more opportunity. The more experience I have, the
Mhm.
more valuable I can be.
Okay. And I was going to say, how did you, turn this into a lifestyle? Was it the people you surrounded yourself with, or was it because you instilled, that work ethic when you were young? How did you, make this a lifestyle? I guess,
It's
like, with your mindset and things like that.
it's a great question. I think that it has to do with what I said a few minutes ago, Louis, about passion.
Okay.
Because um, I assume by your size, you were a ball player.
Football, yes. Remember the Aggies? I think I wore this ring.
That's right. We talked
Yes,
about.
yeah,
So I'm sure you didn't just go out on the field and kind of hang out. You had a passion for it, right?
correct.
And that passion caused you to want to get up every morning and work out and stay healthy and do everything you can do to get an edge on whoever was on the opposing team.
Mhm.
And so that's, to me, it's all about passion. I don't care, as I said earlier, I don't care what you do, just be passionate about it. And that passion will keep you young and it'll keep you excited and it'll keep you wanting to do more. It's like Van Gogh or Gauguin, or there's somebody more recent. I think it was, doesn't matter. It was one of the, you just think of a famous painter. Nobody ever asks him or her, when are you going to retire? Right? They
Yeah,
just keep painting the rest of their lives
yeah.
because they love it. They have a passion for it and they want to keep doing it. And so I just think it's the same way with us. We want to do what we're excited to do and not be, bored stiff and as I said earlier, living for the weekends.
Right, correct. And I was gonna say, lately, because I'm 25 years old, so a thing that I've noticed, you saying follow your passion. Some people don't even one know their passion, or they I don't know if it's because of social media, but they have it to where, like, oh hey, if I'm not here by 25, 26, 27, I'm a failure. So yeah, that's kind of why I was asking, like, how do you even know what people get stuck in, well, how am I supposed to chase my passion if I have to, work to live and things like that? So where's that balance? What would you suggest somebody, a young 25, 26-year old, how do you find your passion, pursue your passion, but still sustain yourself?
Well, you've heard that famous expression about frog kissing, where you have to kiss a lot of frogs to find the prince.
Mhm.
So I think a part of it's that it's kissing a lot of frogs, it's trying a bunch of different things
Okay.
until you find that thing you're really excited about doing. And you might try 20 or 30 or 40 things before you find that thing that really turns you on. So, to keep looking and keep looking until you find what it is that excites you and then pursue that.
Okay.
The other thing I want to observe about social media, I'm very concerned about social media, quite honestly, from the point of view of I've recently gotten involved personally with the whole issue of human trafficking, and so I'm very passionate on that subject.
Mhm.
But younger people, like I've been, first of all, the suicide rate among teenagers is skyrocketing.
It is.
Number one.
It is.
Number two, I never heard of this before, of kids cutting themselves. And now the frequency of kids actually physically cutting themselves is also running rampant. And I think the reason for that, in my mind, is that we have this unrealistic Hollywood version of, what somebody perfect looks like. Well, that's not reality. It's just, it's fictitious.
Mhm.
You know, I have I have the good fortune of having known a number of people that have been very famous, and the ones that are really down to earth are the ones that are the most happy, not the ones that are all buying into all of their their persona and all of this other stuff. But that's really the key to me, is that you don't believe all of the stuff in social media, because the reason kids are cutting themselves is because they can't live up to the ideal they think they've seen on social media. And it's a fiction. People are not perfect. So I think that, that's a very, very key part of it.
Okay. And I was going to say that, yeah, I noticed that, I've worked in my professional work, I've worked with a lot of, different levels of, certain youth, but that's what I've noticed, with the social media. It does scare me. There's a positive side to it, but just like you said, there's that fake image, people having to live up to other people's expectations, or what perfect look like, or what happiness looks like. They think happiness equals being rich, and so a lot of people, it's definitely hard to be successful, but a lot of people fall short of that. And I've had friends or know people that have tried to hurt themselves just because they can't live up to that image. And it's honestly sad. So I was going to say, yeah, for you, you just stay off social media. And then is that kind of what you do?
It is.
Mhm.
I think I mentioned to you when we were together that I had the good fortune of meeting Kim Kardashian and spending some one-on-one time with her.
Mhm.
Kim, Kim is one of the most down-to-earth people you would ever want to meet. She's very simple. She's very real. But that's not the persona you see of her. You see this persona of her that's completely different. She's actually a very lovely, down-to-earth person. But I think these personas get so distorted and so blown out of whack with reality that kids think, well, I can never live up to being like, Kim Kardashian or whoever else it is. And so it's just something that I don't know. And the same thing that I would maybe overly critical, but I feel the same way about television, which is the news media. I don't care if you're right or left, it doesn't make any difference to me, but wherever you are, you're getting propaganda. Everybody wants to convince you of their side, and they'll use whatever fiction that they can create to convince you that they're right and you're wrong, or vice versa. And I've just gotten to the point that I don't want to buy into it anymore, because I want to form my own opinion. I don't want somebody else to tell me what it is that I think. And that's really what's happening right now.
And so, yeah, no, I see it too. And then if I do give advice to, younger people, or just people in general, I always do say, be careful what you consume, because, what you let in here, that's what you see. What you let in your mind is kind of like, the paradigm, how you look at the world.
That's a really good point, because if you look at politics, for example, I don't care if you watch CNN or you
Mhm.
watch Fox News, doesn't make any difference. But whichever one you want, they're going to fill your head with their point of view. And pretty soon you'll start saying, oh, yeah, well, that's what they told me. Therefore, that's what I believe. And therefore, that's what is. I don't know if you ever had this experience, but I have, where you see something personally, and then you
Yeah,
see it reported on TV. And what you see on TV is completely different than what it was you saw.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's all distorted. And it's, unfortunately, it's also, somebody talked about fake news, but it's all being manufactured to convince you of a point of view, whether or not that point of view has merit or not, whether or not it's true or not, it doesn't
Mhm.
matter. And so I'd much rather form my own opinion than have somebody else tell me what I think.
Exactly. And that's how I feel too. Let me find out for myself, because just like you said, um, you see something and then something else is being reported, which will lead me into the next question. Because I feel like, in your very blessed life, you've seen, I mean, you've been the highest of the highs, lowest of the lows, in the middles, but um, in those rooms, or in those types of atmospheres, when you're surrounded by other people, billionaires, millionaires, how is that? Like, is it what we see on the social media, or is it too different? Because I've always feel like I never judge people. I mean, just like how we met, I treat everyone the same, with respect, great attitude, passion. I'm very, yeah, like I said, what I put out is what I get back in. I had no idea who we were, but I was gonna say, some people have the idea, oh, all these rich people are greedy, they don't wanna, but I was like, well, dang, they actually help a lot of people, like for example, in um, your case, you've saved and taken care of a lot of lives. And so that's what I was gonna say, the view, the perspective of people thinking, one way about, the 1% or the rich people, like, like, how is it in those rooms? What is being said for one, and for two, what is being portrayed on social media? Is that a big difference? Being in those types of rooms and surrounded by, those really, successful people or rich people.
Yeah, it's a really good question. And I want to amplify it a little bit because I've seen some statistics that are troubling. For
Mhm.
instance, there was a survey of high school kids a few years back. And basically, the survey said that high school kids believe that business people are all dishonest, that they just they'll beg, borrow, and steal and do anything they want to be successful. That's not been my experience at all. I think fundamentally people are very honest. And I like to surround myself with people who engage in what I call win-win relationships. In other words, I want to win when you win. And I don't want to have me win and you lose. That's not a good relationship. In sports, yes, but not in life. In life, you want to have win-win relationships. So that's very important to me. I think the other thing, I've known a number of billionaires, and they're actually really nice people. They're down to earth. And I think the key to that, people that people that have big egos are really insecure, I think. People that are down to earth and don't have big egos and don't have to be starting every sentence with I, and can sit and listen to other people and hear other people's points of view. Um, those are the people that are really successful because they're good listeners. And you've heard this said before, but it's very true, which is you have two ears and one mouth. So you should be a better listener than you are a speaker. And I'm just going through a personal experience that I won't bore you with, but it has to do with the ministry.
No, go
And
ahead.
basically,
We're here. Yeah, go ahead. We're here.
well,
I'm all
okay, so
ears.
I've something called a Stephen Minister recently. And what a Stephen Minister is are people who, the minister or rabbi or pastor, whatever you want to call him or her, has a congregation, let's say 2,500 people. And among those 2,500 people, you have people dying, you have people alcoholic, you have people losing their job. I mean, one poor story after another. And the pastor doesn't have time to minister to all those people. So he created, in 1972, a pastor in St. Louis created a ministry that now has hundreds of thousands of people, including me, a part of it, where basically I'm available to go in and sit with people in their homes when they're going through one of these tragedies. And I learned two things in preparing to become a Stephen minister. And those two things were empathy and listening, which is being able to listen to someone and not give them advice necessarily, but just sit and listen to them and ask them questions about things like they'll make a statement and your response to the statement won't be, oh, I think that's wrong, or I agree with you. It would be, tell me more. And it's like when you go to a psychiatrist or a psychologist, you spend an hour on the couch and you might spend he or she might spend 5 minutes talking and the other 55 minutes you're doing the talking. So being a good listener is key, being a good listener. And then having empathy, which is you're looking at the world. Something I learned, this is really valuable. This has served me, Luis, so well through life, which is what I call the you point of view, which is the you point of view is when I'm writing a resume or I'm writing an ad, for example, instead of writing the ad and talking about all of the things I'm looking for, I write the ad from your point of view. And I say, here's what you're looking for. You're looking for this, and you're looking for this, and you're looking for this, and you're looking for this. And then I can say, and I can give you all those things. So it's taking what I call the you point of view. I've just started a new company. It's called My Health Empowered. And this is since you and I talked that I've started this company, Louis. So My Health Empowered is exactly that. In other words, for most of my adult life, we've been doing things to people. So if Louis is 100 pounds overweight and he comes in my office and I'm a doctor and I say, Louis, you got to drop weight, man. You got to lose. I want to see you come back. And I'm pointing my finger at you and I'm saying, come back in a month and I want to see you drop at least 25 pounds. Well, the chances are when you come back in a month, you'll have gained weight. You won't have lost weight. No, now let's take a different approach. Instead of doing that, that's doing things to people. If you do things through people, you put your arm, figuratively speaking, around your shoulder and say, pal, you put on a few extra pounds. What are you looking forward to? And you go, well, I'm looking forward to my cousin's graduation from college. And I say, okay, Louis, let's figure out a way we can get you that graduation in 2 years. And so you're working with you and the things that are important to you, not the things that are important to me, the things that are important to you. So doing things through people is what I'm working on now. And what it is, I think, is the key is having that empathy and being good at listening and being non-judgmental and being very supportive.
And I congrats on the new business, and I think it'll be more people need that. For one, it's interesting, listen to you speak because I feel like I naturally, I kind of culturally, we kind of, that's kind of how my outlook was, or for me personally too, listening more and things like that. But as I hear you speak, it sounds like you're not chasing profit. It's like impact. You're chasing impact. Not saying necessarily chasing, but yeah, that's your mindset. Like, how can I impact instead of profits? Which is, yeah.
You want to know how to become wealthy?
Yes, I do want to. Yes, I do.
Don't try to become wealthy.
Don't try to become wealthy. And you see how opposite that it, like, on we'll go back to social media or just period. You can, in any atmosphere you're in, everyone's chasing the, hey, try to be wealthy. Not everyone, but that's the
trick. The way to become wealthy is to create value. Do something that people really want and need. Mm-hmm. And if you do that, the money will follow. But I've never met anyone who made money by starting out with a goal to become wealthy. You become wealthy by creating something that people really want and they really need, and you can supply that to them. Then you'll do just fine. But it doesn't start with wanting to be wealthy. It starts with wanting to solve a problem that exists that hasn't been solved.
And what was that turning point in your life? When did you realize that?
I was very fortunate because I started working when I was 11 years old, selling door to door. And then, as I told you, I started working full time at age 15. And so I've been working most of all my life. And to me, it's a great question because when I was 15 or 16 or 17 years old, I was drafted when I was 19. And I was passionate about healthcare. I really knew I wanted to be in healthcare. So it came to me very early on that I want to be in healthcare, and I want to. I think what was also, a lot of this is the benefit of hindsight, of course. But I felt that when I look back and I say, okay, what I want to do is I want to make a difference. And the old thing about the footsteps in the sand, and you want to basically leave an impression in life or a mark in life. So I've started a number of companies that will outlive me by many, many years. And so that to me is the key, which is wanting to make a difference and wanting to, in my case in healthcare, And it doesn't have to be healthcare. For me, I wanted to improve people's lives, but it could be, you know, convincing somebody to buy your product. It can be any one of a number of things.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, and then yeah, I just asked that. I ask questions that I know everyone just in our 20s. You know, I know we were, you know, born different generations, but this is all the, you know, the questions that people are like,
Well, I'm
hey,
just
you
looking
know,
at your shoulder and I'm looking at Kobe.
oh yeah, yeah.
Look at Kobe. You want to
Yeah.
talk about passion? That
Mhm,
guy from when he was in the Italian basketball league had passion,
mhm, mhm.
and he knew what, you know. So what you saw in Magic or Kareem or whoever else it was, Kobe, you see people that have a passion that they want to be the best that they can possibly be, and that's all we're talking about doing. Which is, you can see I got my Laker purple on today.
Yeah, that's good luck, Purple. We need more of that for next year. But yeah, and that's, you know, it's cool, and it's interesting to see, just because I know young people are battling that, you know, oh, I gotta, you know, do this, I gotta do that. But if you, I mean, hearing it from you, like if it's kind of basic, not basic or simple, but there's going to be a lot of hard work. But like you said, chase your passion and create value, and I think that's what yeah, people overcomplicate things, which I mean is natural. We're all human beings. So I would say when you started to figure things out and you knew your life was going to change, did your relationship with family or friends change?
Unfortunately, it did.
Mhm.
And it did change because I have a saying which I didn't invent, but it's true, which is the saying was, it's lonely at the top.
Yeah.
It's lonely at the top because unfortunately, when you go from being a fellow worker, where you and I are working together and we're alongside of each other, and then all of a sudden somebody becomes somebody else's boss, the whole dynamic changes. And that's just excuse me just a second, I gotta get rid of Paul.
Oh, you're good. No worries.
That's just the reality that you know, something I developed that might, this might cause you to scratch your head, Lee. But what I said, what I realized was that what you think of me is none of my business. And the reason it's not any of my business is that if you're an employer and you have people working with you, no one works for me. They work with me. But if I was to ask someone, you know, what do you think of me? The answer is going to be skewed by what it is they want, right? So it's better that I just don't know. It's just, you know, it's better not to know. And I think that that's why I coined that phrase some years ago about what you think of me is none of my business. And I have this thing I told you about Monday morning versus Friday night. I have had people follow me from one company to another 8 different times. And the reason for that is because they're getting a lot of satisfaction out of what it is they're doing. And fortunately, I've been able to create an environment that fosters the kinds of things I'm talking about. And that causes them to want to keep coming back for more.
Mhm, mhm. So natural leader, yeah, you're somebody that I would love to work for. Maybe, you know, God willing, one day, you know. But it's good to, yeah, to
Who knows?
I
Maybe I'll be
mean,
working for you someday, Louis.
working with you, working with you.
There you go.
But it's, I
You're a
mean,
quick study.
it's kind of, you know, unfortunate. You know, I figured that it might have, you know, changed some things, your relationships, because, you know, you hit success. But it's kind of you know, sad, I would say. But I would say in my own life, you know, I'm not even close to, you know, I have my own victories, but I've noticed, you know, I was very successful, high performing athlete. Whatever sport I did, I, you know, I did Division I scholarship for football. You know, you see some boxing belts in the back. After I graduated, I thought I wanted to fight. Um, but I thought I wanted to fight because other people saw me only as an athlete. So I was
Yeah.
like, okay, when I graduated, I still had one more year left to play football. I could have went to grad school, but my passion just wasn't there. So I was like, I don't want to, I'm not gonna mess around with it. I'm not gonna, BS it. And so I was like, I'm gonna go box because I have 8 years of wrestling experience. I was a state champion. I could box, and then after that, I learned my my boxing skills. Then I can go to MMA, because one of my uncles, his best friend is Conor McGregor's agent. He owns that Paradigm agency. And anyways, like, all the connections were there. And so I was like, okay, boom. I boxed for a year. I started June 2019, had my first fight July 2019. I went on from July to March 2020 fighting. I had 7 fights. I went 7-0, um, won all these belts, and I was supposed to represent New Mexico at the Nationals. COVID hit, so there's no fights. Next couple months, it made me sit down and really reflect, like, what do I want to do with my life? And I realized that everyone that knew me, they identified me as an athlete. All the happiness that I brought was because, the sports. I also have good energy, I'm a personality, but that's what I noticed. And so I was like, am I boxing for me? Am I fighting? Am I, getting in that ring, risking my life for myself or them? And so once I started realizing that type of, once I realized that, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna use my brain. I'm not gonna, I'm gonna retire. I still coach. I realized that people didn't celebrate me the same. And it kind of, it did something to me. I was like, man, people saw me, they only celebrated me this way. And once I gave up, all the, the boxing, the sports, I just realized some things. So that's why my relationship has changed with people. Um, but it made me realize, okay, who's really in my corner. So
Yeah.
that's why I kind of ask, how your relationship changes, during the duration of, different successes you hit. So I kind of wanted to know how you handled that, and what got you through that. Yeah. And so, what do you do? Do you kind of move on from when you start seeing people kind of treat you different? Do you kind of move on from that, like when you hit success, or?
Yeah, yeah, I was gonna touch on this earlier.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, I lost a lot of friends,
Yeah.
and one of the guys I was most respectful of was a guy who told me, he said, um, "I can't be your friend anymore." And I said, "Oh, why not?" He said, "I can't deal with your success." And I thought that was an amazingly heartfelt thing that he told me, was
Mhm.
that, jealousy, whatever you want to call it, but it's like, somebody is looking at themselves in a mirror and they're saying, well, I'm just as good as he is. So why is he successful? I'm not successful. It's just like you in sports. There's going to be a winner and there's going to be a loser. And you want to be on top as many times as you possibly can, and you want to be a winner. But, the reality is that we can't all be winners. I don't believe in this, everybody gets a trophy. I think you get a trophy because you earned it, not because somebody's going to hand you a trophy.
Right. Correct. Correct. And I have that same ideology too. And that's what I have noticed in the corporate world. I would say the past. I've only really had, let's say, my last 8 months in the corporate world. Just like you said in the beginning, my energy have that magnitude. Like, because I live that life. Like I have it here in my head. I vision it, and then I kind of put it out. Like, um, the energy that I want back in, And so it's crazy because in the corporate world that I've been working in, um, I have noticed I can't be like that with everybody because they don't see it. You know what I'm saying? But they don't see it as I'm trying to spread the positivity, like, hey, but they see it differently. I didn't know, not that I didn't know, but I just didn't think it would be as cutthroat because I've seen it where people have compared, oh, why is this young kid, you get what I'm saying? How is he so naturally successful or this and
Yeah.
that moving? And then I've kind of seen some snake stuff, but yeah, it's very interesting. And so I'm learning how to manage those relationships and manage the energy I put out with certain people. I was like,
Yeah.
I gotta remember, oh, I can't be like this. Everyone doesn't see me like that. Not that I care, but I just gotta be very careful. And yeah, that's why I ask you. And I'm sad to hear that one of your close friends, actually felt that way about you. So that's definitely.
He actually did me a favor because he caused
Mhm.
me to think about how, I have a very good friend. She happens to be an Indian woman, and she's the smartest person I've ever met. And what she has as a gift is that she can look at both sides of the same issue with equal um, fervor. And so, that this gets back to what we were saying about Democrat versus Republican, or Fox News versus CNN or whatever it is, which is, if you can look at both sides of the coin and you could both sides of the point of view, then you're going to have a really objective view of things, as opposed to just looking at it one way or the other way. It's really valuable to argue one point of view and then come around and take the exact opposite argument, because in so doing, you will learn a heck of a lot.
Mhm, mhm. You can soak in more. You can see, yeah, yeah, I understand. So speaking of relationships, I know you said some of your friendships has changed. What about like relationship wise, girlfriend wise, wife wise? Has that, has that had an impact? Your success had an impact on that, aspect or spectrum of your life, whether it be marriage or, girlfriend related?
It has,
Mhm,
and not in a good way.
mhm.
Unfortunately, when you have money, it's impossible to know if a woman is interested in you or your money. It's
Yeah.
very difficult because, um, really good looking women are attracted to men with a lot of money who can, become a sugar daddy or whatever else.
Mhm.
And it's very hard to find a woman, in my case, a woman who um, it looks beyond the money and looks to who you really are. It's really tough. It's really tough, and it's more so because of uh, the public persona that we all have. It's very easy to find out how much somebody's worth, and then go after it.
Yeah. Yeah. So if there's anything you could go back and change. So there's sacrifice in everything. So you're
Yeah,
very successful, um, financially, spiritually, mentally, right? If you could go back and change something, like, would you give up, a certain amount of money, or maybe successful companies or this or that? Would you give that up for, a marriage, like, maybe a successful marriage? Like, you get what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
yeah.
I
So
do get what you're saying.
yeah, would you give that up, or would you, you know,
I
live
think
life the
I
same?
don't think of it so much as Viva Blue as I do. Would I like both? Yes, I would like both. But I feel a little bit like a missionary in this regard, which is that I have not had the one relationship that I've described, but I've had millions of people whose life I've influenced or affected. And so I take great satisfaction out of that. And it's, you know, it's like, wouldn't we all like to have everything? Well, we can't have everything. We have choices to make. I was going to make one other comment about something I was saying earlier, because we were talking about high school kids and their view of people being dishonest if they're in business. The other thing that came out of that study that I read was that if you ask a high school student, how much profit does a company make? They had some crazy number, like 70 or 80% profit. Well, a very successful company might have 10% profit. So there's a completely misunderstood view about how much money people make. You have to work. If you keep 10 cents for every dollar you make, that's a lot of effort to create that dollar to keep a dime. And so I'd like to just imbue people of the feeling that people are dishonest in business and that they make all this money, and it's just, and I found that, as I said, people, I just don't run into people that are, fundamentally dishonest. 90% of the people, 95% of the people I deal with are honest as they could possibly be, and they want the right things for people. So I wish we could change people's view of the negative view of, of work, and what it means to create value. It's all about creating value. It's all about creating value. Whatever I do, whatever you do, like if you were boxing, okay, so the value you're creating is in boxing is the people that are willing to pay to see you fight, and that generates revenue, and that creates value.
And I was gonna mention this earlier because you are right, and that as a young adult, just going on about life and figuring things out. I was gonna say you had mentioned to me when we met, you were like, hey, I think you would be good in something with sales or marketing. You think my value could be there, but I would also I did think about that. I took I reflected. I was like, man, I think, and I still do believe, I have a lot of value to be, that I can monetize, through that. But I also was running into some things that were like, I like to believe, like, if I'm selling you something, I want it to really benefit you. So that's why
Yeah.
I haven't ever, why I haven't ever got into certain marketing things, because, a business, they need to make profits and this and that, but the jobs or the certain opportunities that I have had to try to market, or things like that, I just felt like I don't want to be selling dreams. Like I want to be giving you something that that's going
Yeah.
to add value to your life. That's going to create something. So that's personally where am I in life. Um, that's why I haven't got into no sales or marketing. But
Well, I think it comes back to what we talked about, which is a win-win relationship, which is
mhm,
I've never been able to sell anything I didn't know, whether it's an idea or whatever it is. I've never been able to sell anything I didn't believe in. I have to believe in it first. And once I believe in it, then I can convince other people. The thing I was struck by with you when we met was you're a very engaging personality. You're a nice person.
mhm. Thank you.
And you come across with a level of interest in other people, and you're very well spoken. And all of those things are really great attributes that have a lot of value.
Mhm. No, thank you. I appreciate that. And that's just, yeah. I just want people to know, like, we randomly met, but that's how I treat literally everyone. And
Yeah.
I was more surprised how um you treated me, because people think, oh, the one, the 1%, the rich, all these rich people, they look down on, and so when you didn't even tell me or reveal who you were until like 40 minutes into the dinner, I was like, oh, holy smokes, like, so I was more, yeah, it made me feel, we were having a good dinner anyways, but it just made me feel, like you said, you see something, and then you see something on the news. So just like on social media, you see one thing on social media, the rich, the rich, the rich, but you as a person, man, you were very genuine. It was,
A lot of that has to do with humility. And the fact, again, we go back to the social media thing.
yeah.
I mean, I don't want to just anybody, but movie stars are full, they're egomaniacs. They're so all about me, myself, and I, and look how great I am, and all that other stuff. And I just don't believe that. I believe that, you know, the we're all blessed with certain circumstances and certain opportunities that we can hopefully capitalize on. But the old thing about putting your pants on the same way. I think I don't feel it's all about ego. I don't feel like I'm pounding my chest saying, "Oh, look at all the great things I've done," as much as I say, "Look how fortunate I am to have been in a place in life where I can make a contribution."
Okay. So you use affirming words instead of, yeah, and I like that about you, because people, I think, they like to I don't know if it's human nature, but they like to, I guess, credit, oh, he's had it like that, he got to get handed to him. But that right there, just it gives me a lot of insight of why you're successful. Just those two sentences, same sentence, but you flipped it, how fortunate I am. Use affirming words. And I want, people to know, not it's simple, but you got to build that habit. So do you do a routine, or is there a certain affirmation thing that you
Well, there's
follow?
a couple of things. One of them, a couple of them, I believe, but one of them are all things you've heard, but I really have taken them to heart,
Mhm.
which is the saying that what the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. That is so, so true. Um, and the other one is, if it is to be, it's up to me.
Amen. Amen. And I would ask, okay, since you have that mindset, what's the biggest loss that you ever have taken, and why didn't you just give up when you had an opportunity to give up? Um,
I'm
if
glad you asked that. So I don't know if you can see my hands. Let's see if I can get this hand over
yeah,
here.
I can see it. Yeah.
So people think that success is over here and failure is over here. They're inextricably intertwined. You succeed, you fail on your way to being more successful. You've heard of that product WD-40.
Yes.
So that was his 40th attempt at trying to get the formula right.
Oh, wow. I did not know that.
And now it's a worldwide product. Every country in the world, you'll find WD-40. But it was his 40th attempt. I mean, everybody that's anybody talks about you fail your way to being successful. Um, and so success and failure are inextricably intertwined. They're not separate. You aren't either a success in life or you're a failure in life. You fail, fail, fail as you become more successful. That's so important to keep that in mind.
And I'm glad you said that, because it's almost as if it's an illusion, It's almost
Yeah.
as if it's an illusion, because yeah, you're so close to your next success, but you're failing. And so people get stuck, and people, yeah, I just think yeah, I find that interesting that that you point that out,
And
because
you know this from boxing.
yeah.
Okay. Every time somebody lands a punch on you, you learn something.
Mhm, mhm.
You learned that you didn't duck when you were supposed to duck, or you didn't uh, raise your arm when you were supposed to raise your arm. And every single time they tag you, you learn something that causes you not to repeat that same thing the next time.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's just it's crazy, because people don't. So right now I live in Las Cruces, New Mexico, but working in the community, things like that, people don't view it like that. That they're, I mean, I think it's just everywhere. But since I've been working, I notice people are scared to fail, and maybe that's why they don't ever take the leap of faith, because there's that comfortability, you know, I think bar that they're at. Okay, they're like, well, if I don't, I can't fail. I can't fail if I don't jump. And so
Right.
for me, a little background about me. I'm Samoan. My family immigrated here from the islands, right? And so my grandma and them, they got us to America. My mom sustained us, put us through school. She didn't really speak that good of English, but like, one day, a lot of stuff has happened, but one day I was like, man, my grandma got us to America. My mom sustained us here. It's my job next to further us, And so what I've been noticing around, and that's why I'm not scared to fail at all, just because I'm like, it's, if not me, then who? Where in the family generation, like who's going to take this leap? And it's a lot of pressure. Sometimes I have to sit down and like breathe, and but just like you said, you have that thing that keeps you up, and that's what keeps me up. I perform best when my back is against the wall.
Yep.
And yeah, I don't know why. I like, when all the pressure's on me, that's when that's my success hits. So that's why I'm kind of just yeah, I'm glad that you stated success and failure. they go together. You know, you have to fail your way to success. But how do people from, I was going to say too, I'm from low poverty, low income family, you know, we had food stamps, things like that. How do people like that come from my background or that can relate even from the middle class, lower class, how do we, I guess, even try to fathom like, hey, one day, you know, this can happen. Like, how do we make it, if that makes kind of sense? Because I feel like there's, um, yeah, there's that. There's just that not glass ceiling because they see it that it can be done, but no one wants to jump because no one has made it in their family. They don't. A lot of kids that I work with, or just in my family, we have not seen success. So how can somebody from low poverty, low income, maybe you can do even sub mid class, like how do those guys like keep going? What can you say to like them? Like, can they make it? Is it possible? Um, yeah, like what, how can they make it? Or
So I didn't come from wealth. I didn't come from, I wasn't on food stamps, but when a kid growing up, I knew if I wanted to buy a car, if I wanted to have insurance, if I wanted to have gas, I had to earn the money to do everything. No one, my parents, they lived from paycheck to paycheck. They couldn't hand me anything.
mm,
So I had to earn it on my own. I think that this word, it's a long word and it's a complicated word. The word is actually indefatigable. But people talk about indefatigability, and indefatigability or is just simply a matter of you don't have a and you refuse to quit. You're not old enough to remember, although maybe you studied the history. There was a very famous black boxer in San Diego. His name was Archie Moore. And Archie Moore was an unbelievable heavyweight fighter because it didn't matter how many, and these were 15 when they had 15 round fights. And, you know, those extra 3 rounds, as you may know, those extra 3 rounds are a lot.
my goodness, I don't know who set
And
that up. Yeah.
so Archie Moore had this, he was a very gentle man. I had the pleasure of meeting him. He was a very gentle man. But Archie Moore, you could knock him down 10 times. It didn't matter how many times you knocked him down because he was going to get up. And so he had this amazing reputation for, they call him the mongoose, but he just refused to quit. He did not have a quit. I'll tell you a related story. I've been very fortunate in having lived in San Diego for a number of years, of being very involved with the Navy SEALs. And I'll leave you with this story. So in order to become a Navy SEAL, they have what they call a BUDS program in San Diego and somewhere on the East Coast. And they take the best of the best of the best to be like trying to get into the NFL, or you're trying to get into you know, a professional baseball team when you're in the minors. And they take the best of the best of the best to become trainees, to become Navy SEALs. And they go through this BUDS program. And they take in 300 of the top 1% of the military. Maybe it's the top 1% of the 1% of the military. And they take 300 recruits into a BUDS program. And out of those 300 recruits, Louis, they graduate 30. 90% of the best fail. 10% of the best succeed. The difference between the 90% and the 10% is one thing. The 10% do not have a quit gene. They will not quit. They will die before they quit. And that's exactly what the program is designed to do, because they want you to quit. If you'll quit in the program, that means you're not going to quit on the battlefield and have a bunch of your buddies get killed alongside of you because you threw in the towel. And so that no quit gene, I believe I have the no quit gene. I know a lot of people who have the no quit gene. And that just basically means you put anything you want to put in my way, I'm going to overcome it. Whatever it is, I'm going to do what it needs to do to come out on top.
So grit, you have grit. I
Yeah.
like that. I like that. And I think, and I respect that about you because you have every reason to be, sitting on your couch, putting your feet up. You could have done that a long time ago. So definitely thank you for that. And I can see that. I can feel it. I can look at you and know that you are 100%. You won't quit on anything. Did you have to step on any? Did you have to, I guess, be cutthroat on your way up to the top? Did you have to?
Never.
Did you follow
No.
all the rules?
That's the win-lose attitude of
Okay,
I've got to step on somebody else in order to be successful. I don't
okay,
believe that.
okay. And what about following all the rules, policies, things like that?
Um,
You think?
I believe in walking close to the line. I do not believe in crossing the line.
Okay,
It's
okay,
like paying your taxes. I'll do everything I can do to avoid paying taxes except break the law.
okay. Good. And just because I feel like people have that mindset, I have to be cutthroat. I have to, I have to lie. I have to, you know, break certain rules to be able to make it. So I'm glad that, you're in the flesh, telling me, the formula, really the blueprint. And I feel like a lot of it is things that we already know, but like I said, we complicate things. So,
Yeah.
just sitting here soaking in, your knowledge and your experience, it's definitely humbling, and I have a lot of gratitude,
Well,
for you towards that.
I wish we had a Q&A, but since we don't, if you get any feedback or any questions, I'm happy to address them.
Yeah, and I was gonna say that. But other than that, I think you could one last advice. You're on your say you are on your, fortunately it won't happen anytime soon. You're on your last deathbed. I mean, you're on your deathbed. What would be your last thing to say to people?
I wish I could have helped more people.
Mhm. Okay.
There's millions of people suffering, billions of people that are suffering around the world. This is this thing with this human trafficking that I'm getting involved with now. It's such a tragedy. The average is it's boys and girls, but the average girl who's involved in human trafficking is 15 years old.
Wow.
It's just tragic what they go through, and they end up on drugs, and they end up living a very short life, and they just it's despicable. And in this society today,
Mhm.
we should not allow this to happen. It's happening. It's happening all over the country. It's not limited to any one city. It's happening everywhere, and we need to find a way to put a stop to it.
Okay. Is there anywhere do you have a website, maybe somewhere we can go and support? And
Well, thanks for asking. I'm just getting into it, so
okay.
I'll get that back to you later. But I'm actually going to Las Vegas on Thursday to meet with a guy. His name is Kevin Malone, and Kevin was the a general manager for the Dodgers,
Okay.
and he got into it a few years back, and I'm getting involved with it through him. But I'm just going to meet him in Las Vegas on Friday.
Okay. Well, definitely safe travels. If you have any books to recommend real quick, because I power reading is very is good. People don't read enough. I feel like if you have any quick books, you'd like to recommend if someone had to read one, is there one?
The power of positive thinking comes to mind because
Power of
the
Positive.
the whole um, the whole approach to self-help. I like self-help books. I like books that give you good positive affirmations.
Same here, same here. I will recommend Law of Attraction, or Key to Living Law of Attraction, and The Power of Moments, and also the Alchemist. So if you haven't
Yep.
read The Alchemist, definitely read The Alchemist. Other than that, I was gonna say I actually had, when I was doing research, just real quick, Bob. Does that sound familiar? That met you in gym, or he met you in New York, and he's loved working with you since. Um, do you recognize that name, Bob? I think Mari.
No, just ring a bell.
Does it ring bell? Okay. Other than that, I would just say thank you again so much for your time. I know you're a busy guy, and you didn't have to do this at all. So thank you. I would just say, to all the people watching, whether you're an entrepreneur, working mom, aspiring athlete, whatever it is, this is the
Good.
formula right here.
And I'd love
Blueprint.
to
Thank
hear
you so much.
any feedback you get on our conversations, positive and negative.
Oh, I definitely will. Yeah, and I'll let you know when I post on YouTube and things like that. And I can edit anything out. So definitely let me know. But other than that, that will conclude this episode. Thank you so, so, so much, Jim. I appreciate it. I appreciate, your ability to just talk to me. And I'm not saying I'm a nobody, but
Far from it, my man.
yeah, yeah. So thank you again. And if you have anything else to say, yeah. But I definitely appreciate you.
I really enjoyed the time and thank you all so very much.